Ancient Rome. What would begin as a small town in central Italy would become the center of one of the world's greatest empires. The legacy of the Romans is so great that we feel it on a daily basis. Whether it be engineering and architecture or government and written laws, the impact of the Romans continue to this day. Rome was located on the Italian peninsula in the center of the Mediterranean world, and what began as a small town on the Tiber River would become one of the greatest powers the world has ever seen. Rome would go on to conquer Greece, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Persia, and much of northern Africa, and it's this location that played a key role in that success. The early Romans believed their history began with the mythical hero Aeneas. Aeneas fled Troy when the Greeks destroyed the city during the Trojan War. He then formed an alliance with a group called the Latins and traveled to Italy. This story is told in the Aeneas, an epic poem written by a poet named Virgil. The Romans believed that the twins, Romulus and Remus, were descendants of Aeneas. In Roman legend, Romulus and Remus were rescued and raised by a she-wolf. Romulus later killed his brother Remus and built the city of Rome and named it after himself. In Rome's early stages, the Romans weren't the only ones on the Italian peninsula. They shared the land with the Etruscans, the Greeks, and the Carthaginians. The Romans created a form of government known as a republic, and even though the republic would evolve over time, its foundation would be the foundation for our government today. The first part of this government was made up of elected officials called magistrates. They sought advice from a council of wealthy, powerful citizens known as the Senate, and the third branch of government had two parts, the assemblies and the tribunes. The government of the Roman Republic was one of its greatest strengths. When the founders of the United States sat down to plan our government, they copied many elements of the Roman system. Like the Romans, we elect our leaders. Our government also has three branches, the President, Congress, and the federal court system. The powers of these branches are set forth in our Constitution just like the Romans' officials' powers were. Our government also has a system of checks and balances to prevent any one branch from becoming too strong. The Roman Forum was the heart of the city of Rome. It was the site of important government buildings and temples. But government and religion weren't the only thing that made the Forum so important. It was also a popular meeting place for Roman citizens. People met there to shop, chat, and gossip, and talk about the issues of the day. The word forum itself means public place. In fact, the Law of the 12 Tables, Rome's first written set of laws, was put on public display in the Roman Forum. During the time of the Republic, Rome grew very quickly, both geographically and economically. By about 200 BC, the Roman army had conquered nearly all of Italy. However, this was just the beginning of expansion for ancient Rome. As Rome's power grew, other countries came to see the Romans as a threat to their own power and declared war on them. The fiercest of these wars Rome fought were the Punic Wars, a series of wars against Carthage, a city in northern Africa. During the Second Punic War, Hannibal, a Carthaginian general, attacked the Romans using war elephants. Despite his skills as a general, Hannibal's forces were no match for the Romans. During the Punic Wars, Rome would take control of Sicily, Corsica, Spain, and much of northern Africa. Therefore, as a result, Rome now controlled most of the western Mediterranean region. As the Romans' territory grew, many problems arose in the Republic. Politicians and generals went to war just to increase their power, and the most powerful of these generals was a man named Julius Caesar. Between 58 and 50 BC, Caesar conquered nearly all of Gaul, an area that is today the country of France. This painting from the late 1800s shows a Frankish leader surrendering to Caesar by dropping his weapons at his feet. The Senate began to fear Caesar's growing power, and in 44 BC, on March 15th, a date known as the Ides of March, a group of senators attacked Caesar in the Senate and stabbed him to death. This led to a power struggle between Mark Antony and Octavian, Caesar's adopted son. Eventually, Octavian would defeat Antony and become Rome's first emperor. He would also rename himself Augustus. Many historians consider this the official end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the empire. As Rome's first emperor, Augustus is one of the most significant figures in Roman history. He made many improvements to the city. In fact, Augustus once declared, "I found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble." The Romans made lasting achievements in engineering and architecture, and one of the reasons for the strength of these structures is the Roman arch, a shape that could support more weight than others. The Romans used their arches and aqueducts, large structures that were used to carry water from mountains into cities. And because they crossed deep valleys, the Roman aqueducts needed to be strong. Therefore, many of them still stand and are in use today. The Romans also used arches in the Flavian Amphitheater, or as it is known today, the Colosseum. The Colosseum is an impressive example of ancient Roman architecture, and it still influences the design of sports stadiums and arenas to this day. The Colosseum is famous for its gladiator fights. However, there are many different types of events that took place in the Colosseum. As you can see, underneath the floor of the Colosseum there was an intricate system of tunnels and cages where they would keep slaves, wild animals, and gladiators so they could be raised up through the floor at the perfect moment in any event. They also filled the Colosseum with water and staged naval battles, and the water was then drained in Rome's sophisticated sewer system. This is the Roman Pantheon, a temple built to honor the many Roman gods. It is one of the oldest still standing buildings in all of Rome. It's famous for its huge dome. The dome has a hole in the center. This allows the sunlight to perfectly illuminate the interior of the building. The Romans are also famous for their roads. They built a road network so large and well constructed that parts of it remain today. In fact, the Romans built over 50,000 miles of roads. That's enough roads to circle the world twice. Roads helped the Romans run their empire. Armies, travelers, messengers, and merchants all used the roads to get around. They stretched all the way to every corner of the empire in a network so vast that people even today say, all roads lead to Rome. At the start of the 1st century AD, a new religion appeared, Christianity. Christianity had its roots in Judaism, but it was based on the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. As Christianity became more popular, Roman leaders began to worry. Some local leaders arrested and killed Christians. These martyrs died for their religious beliefs. Some Roman emperors outlawed Christianity and persecuted Christians. However, in the early 300s, Emperor Constantine became a Christian and removed the bans on them. Later on, Christianity would become the official religion of Rome, and it spread quickly throughout the Roman Empire. Eventually, the Roman Empire grew so large that it was difficult to maintain. The Goths and the Huns, seen here, are just two of the many groups who invaded Rome. However, there were many internal factors that contributed to the decline of Rome as well. However, after the fall of Rome, the Eastern Empire flourished. The Eastern Empire's capital was Constantinople, which in modern day is Istanbul in Turkey. The Romans created many legends about their city's glorious history. The early Romans set up a type of government called the Republic that we model our government off today, and the Roman Republic conquered lands in Italy and began to spread throughout the Mediterranean world. To say that the Roman impact is still felt today would be putting it lightly. Whether it be art, architecture, science, engineering, or religion, the Roman influence is all around us. The Romans changed the course of history and paved the way for the future. Even the ruins in the modern-day city of Rome are a sight to see, and they remind you of the glory that once was Rome. For much more on ancient Rome, please stay tuned to your unit to come. And don't mess with the Romans, or you might end up like this guy.